Dr. Perry Wilson's an associate professor of medicine at Yale and is joining us now. So good morning. Are these helpful moves for El Paso, you think?
Good morning. Yeah, absolutely. I would applaud them for being responsive to the data, which is what we want a lot of municipalities to be doing. We are firmly in what looks to be a third peak of coronavirus infections in this country. We have more cases now than we've had at any other point during the epidemic in the United States. And so it's great that they are starting to make some moves to help control the spread as the weather gets colder, people come inside, and transmission is increasing.
You know, along those lines, the former FDA commissioner said that a national mask mandate may be required here, like one of the only things that may keep the hospitals from getting overwhelmed. Do you see that working?
Yeah, masking is incredibly important. Americans don't always respond well to that sort of top-down mandatory approach. We need more people to wear masks, and if a mandate would do that, it would be great, but it's really only part of the equation. People need to start taking this really seriously and making decisions for themselves to protect their community. And that not only means wearing a mask and social distancing, but especially, again, as the weather gets colder, to make those decisions. You know what? We're not going to have the friends over. We're not going to have people into our house, because we really are seeing that it's those indoor gatherings of people that become these spreading events. And to the extent that more people can take the virus seriously, do their part, we can get this under control.
You know, Costco is selling at-home coronavirus saliva kits online. Any word about how accurate that type of test is? Not necessarily that one.
Yeah, interesting to start to see this, actually. So this is a PCR test. It's similar to the test that many of us have had at this point, where you put the swab up your nose, but this, fortunately, is saliva, much more comfortable, and it appears to be pretty similar to that nasal swab test. So that's great. But a word on the PCR tests: when they're positive, they're very accurate, which means if you do the Costco test and it says, yes, you've had coronavirus or you have coronavirus, it's very likely that that is true. But there is a substantial false negative rate. So if you send that test and it says you're in the clear, you're not necessarily in the clear. You're still obligated to follow those CDC guidelines, even with a negative test, which is you have to be fever-free for 24 hours without taking any fever-reducing medications, and the rest of your symptoms need to be improving before it's appropriate for you to leave isolation, leave the house, and get back into the world.
How about that? Hey, Dr. Wilson, nice to have you on. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Robin.